Sergeant Stubby, the most decorated dog of World War I, is shown in 1920 wearing his military uniform. Stubby participated in 17 battles, alerting soldiers to gas attacks and helping locate the wounded. His most famous act was capturing a German spy, holding him by the pants until American soldiers arrived. This feat earned him a promotion to sergeant, making him the only dog to achieve such a rank in combat. In 1927, Marcia Pinkenfield, a 6-month-old baby, was elected the most beautiful child in America. Born in a small town in Illinois, her parents entered her into the competition almost as a joke, without high expectations, but to their surprise, Marcia won the title. The Führerbunker, the secret bunker in Berlin, was where Adolf Hitler spent his final days with his wife, Eva Braun. This underground shelter served as Hitler's command center during the last months of World War II. In April 1945, with defeat imminent, Hitler and Braun died in the bunker as Soviet troops encircled the city. George S. Patton's dog, the famous American general of World War II, is shown in mourning on the day of his owner's death. Patton was deeply attached to his bull terrier Willie, taking him on his travels and military inspections, believing that the dog brought him luck and comfort during the stresses of war. In the photo, Dr. Hines is seen administering an injection of fluids taken from a live hare into a person in Berlin in 1925. This procedure was part of an experimental treatment that, according to Dr. Hines, combined with ultraviolet radiation and physical exercises, was intended to promote human body rejuvenation. In 1920, the young chess prodigy Samuel Reshevsky, at just 8 years old, was already widely known for his exceptional skills. In New York, he staged an impressive exhibition, playing simultaneously against 20 opponents. The result? Reshevsky won 19 games and drew only one. An armored car from the Heimwehr, a far-right paramilitary militia, patrols the main streets of Austria in 1934. At the time, the country was engulfed in political and social turmoil, and the Heimwehr played a role in maintaining order and suppressing opposition movements. Pablo Escobar and his son were photographed in front of the White House in 1981, at the height of his power as leader of the Medellin cartel. That year, the cartel controlled about 80% of the global cocaine market, shipping up to 15 tons of the drug to the United States daily, generating an estimated revenue of $420 million per week. 2 women training with firearms at the prison on Roosevelt Island, New York, in 1932. At that time, correctional practices began to include more rehabilitation programs and training, aiming to prepare inmates for a smoother reintegration into society. A banquet held in honor of the French soldiers known as gueules cassées, or broken faces, many of whom were wearing masks to cover the facial mutilations they suffered during World War I. A circus performer in an aquarium with crocodiles in Berlin, 1933. At that time, exotic and dangerous attractions were common in European circuses, always aiming to captivate audiences with something new and shocking. This photo shows Albert Einstein's office exactly as he left it on the day of his death, April 18, 1955. Located at Princeton University, where Einstein spent his final years at the Institute for Advanced Study, the modest space witnessed his efforts to unify the laws of physics. Even on the day of his death, Einstein's tireless work is evident in the chalkboard and the open books on his desk. In 1918, the first food truck was adapted from a Ford Model T using just a few boards and planks. This vehicle served quick meals to workers and passers-by in various parts of Washington, D.C. Offering everything from sandwiches and fruits to hot beverages, the food truck catered to the needs of a fast-paced population. In 1957, the renowned director Alfred Hitchcock met Leo the Lion, the iconic mascot of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, during a visit to the MGM studios in Culver City, California. Although Hitchcock did not work directly for the studio, his visit was marked by discussions about potential collaborations, many of which never materialized. Nazi soldiers view footage of the concentration camps after the end of World War II. The Allied forces wanted regime members to see with their own eyes the atrocities committed, leading many German soldiers to be taken to cinemas or to the concentration camps themselves to witness the suffering inflicted on millions of innocent people. A telepath attempting to hypnotize a chimpanzee in 1941. Shows featuring hypnosis, telepathy, and other mystical feats attracted large audiences, with performers and mentalists pushing the boundaries of scientific knowledge and challenging people's perceptions. In 1967, a photo captures the moment when American pilot John McCain was captured by Vietnamese forces at Truc Bac Lake in Hanoi during the Vietnam War. McCain, a U.S. Navy pilot, was shot down during a mission and ejected from his plane before landing in the lake. Severely injured, with broken arms and legs, he was captured and spent 5 years in the notorious Hoa Lo prison, where he endured torture and extreme conditions. The astronauts of Apollo 1, during a water landing training in 1966. Unfortunately, their journey was tragically cut short. All of them died in a devastating fire that occurred during a test on the launch pad, months before the scheduled spaceflight. In the 1961 photo, Disneyland employees are seen in the cafeteria line, still dressed as the characters that delight visitors. Although they no longer wear costumes backstage, the Disney look remains a strict policy that guides how employees should present themselves and behave in public. This attention to detail is essential for maintaining the magic and illusion, ensuring that every gesture and movement of the characters contributes to the experience. In 1968, one of the first computer mouse models was demonstrated, an innovation that revolutionized the way we interact with technology. Before the mouse, users had to deal with punched cards or complex text commands. Commander Richard Byrd, wearing a leather helmet and mask, is prepared for an Arctic flight. This photo was taken during the preparation for the historic 1926 expedition, where he and pilot Floyd Bennett claimed to be the first to fly over the North Pole. The journey, covering a distance of 1,360 miles, was completed in just over 15 hours, a remarkable achievement for that era. In 1882, the inventive Oldreeve introduced a tricycle designed for those seeking a stable alternative to the popular but unstable bicycles of the time. The design provided a reliable solution for those struggling with balance issues. 20 minutes after the atomic bombing in 1945, the sky over Nagasaki was still a terrifying sight. 3 days after Hiroshima, the Fat Man bomb exploded over the city with the devastating force of 21,000 tons of TNT, resulting in massive destruction and the immediate death of approximately 40,000 people. During the 1930s, a group of 30 men posed on top of a DKW F-7 in Germany, showcasing the impressive durability of the vehicle. This photograph, taken around a factory, symbolizes the innovation and adaptation of the automotive industry in response to the economic and technological challenges of the time. The DKW F-7, with its lightweight and durable structure, exemplifies the new generation of affordable and efficient vehicles that emerged after the Great Depression. In 1878, the head of the Statue of Liberty was displayed at the Third World's Fair in Paris, attracting thousands of visitors who were fascinated by the detailed work of French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi. This exhibition played a crucial role in raising the funds and public support needed to complete the monument, which was facing ongoing financial challenges. In 1922, German children play with stacks of money, reflecting the devastating hyperinflation that plagued the Weimar Republic. After World War I, Germany was required to pay exorbitant reparations as stipulated by the Treaty of Versailles. To meet these demands, the government printed large amounts of money, leading to such a drastic fall in the value of the currency that the notes became virtually worthless. Thomas Edison, famous for his inventions of the electric light bulb and the phonograph, was also a pioneer in the development of electric vehicles. In this early 20th century photo, Edison poses next to a car he helped develop, firmly believing in the great potential of electric cars due to their quiet operation and simple mechanics. On the cold morning of November 1933, a crowd gathered under the Boren Viaduct in Belgium, eager to witness an apparition of the Virgin Mary. The day before, children from the local Christian school had reported a sacred vision while playing near the viaduct, describing the serene presence of the Virgin. This report quickly drew devotees to the site, hoping to experience their own divine encounter. In 1937, George Orwell, author of 1984, donned a military uniform to fight in the Spanish Civil War. Born Eric Arthur Blair, Orwell traveled to Spain determined to combat fascism, joining the militia of the Marxist Unified Workers' Party, an anti-Stalinist leftist organization. In the trenches, he developed a critical view of political practices and ideologies, which profoundly influenced his subsequent works. During World War II, British military vehicles in India were camouflaged as elephants. This ingenious method confused enemy forces during aerial and ground reconnaissance, blending naturally into the environment and providing near-perfect cover for the movement of troops and supplies. Marilyn Monroe and Tom Ewell on the set of The 7-Year Itch, in one of the most iconic scenes in film history. In this scene, Monroe's ivory dress is lifted by a gust of air as she stands over a subway ventilation grate, revealing her legs in a seductive manner. Although it is a comedic moment, this scene became a lasting symbol of Monroe's career and 20th century pop culture. By the end of the 19th century, large-scale logging threatened the majestic sequoia forests, such as the Mark Twain tree shown here in what is now Sequoia National Park. In response to the devastation, Sequoia National Park was established in 1890, marking one of the early efforts to protect natural ecosystems. Between 1920 and 1930, it was common to see flocks of sheep strolling peacefully through the streets of London. During this period, local authorities introduced sheep into various city parks to manage grass height. In the absence of advanced technology for maintaining green spaces, the sheep served as natural lawn mowers, providing a practical and economical solution. Around 1930, children in California participated in one of the first gatherings of the Mickey Mouse Club, wearing masks of the famous character. This club was one of Disney's early efforts to build a community and marketing strategy around Mickey Mouse, who had already established himself as a cultural icon by the late 1920s. In 1903, One Times Square was under construction at the corner of Broadway and 7th Avenue. This skyscraper was part of a larger project to create the new headquarters for the New York Times, which would give rise to the famous name of the area, Times Square. The building was one of the first structures to be constructed using the steel frame technique, allowing it to reach an impressive height of over 20 stories, a rare feat in the early 20th century. In August 1919, just 3 weeks after the Allied victory parade in Paris marking the end of World War I, pilot Charles Godefroy performed a daring feat. He flew his biplane through the Arc de Triomphe. The maneuver required extreme precision, as the width of the opening is approximately 48 feet, while Godefroy's aircraft had a wingspan of about 30 feet. In this 1945 photo, Soviet cryptographer Igor Guzenko is shown with his face covered during an interview. Working at the Soviet embassy in Ottawa, Guzenko uncovered a major Soviet espionage operation in Canada and decided to defect, taking with him over 100 documents proving the existence of this network. His revelations led to the arrest and conviction of 29 individuals involved. On November 16, 1942, Beth Pitt was seen walking with her pet deer, Star Message, through downtown New York. Earlier that day, she had been fined $2 in court for allowing the deer to roam freely in Central Park. An African-American U.S. soldier reads a message carved into a tombstone left by the Viet Cong during the Vietnam War. The message read, "Black American soldiers, you are committing the same dishonorable crimes in South Vietnam that members of the Ku Klux Klan are perpetrating against your families back home." Developed in 1917, this underwater suit allowed divers to explore greater depths with protection against the high pressure at the sea floor. Known as the Iron Man suit, it was made up of articulated metal plates, providing movement and resistance in extreme conditions. In 1911, the entrance of a cinema displayed a poster for the film Trip to Mars, with tickets priced at just 10 cents. This work, one of the earliest science fiction films to explore the concept of space travel, captivated audiences long before any mission beyond Earth was feasible. This photo, taken 2 days before the tragedy, shows the iceberg that collided with the Titanic. On the night of the collision, the ocean was unusually calm, making it difficult to spot the iceberg, as the absence of waves breaking against the ice made it less visible. The low visibility meant the iceberg was detected too late, despite earlier warnings about ice in the route. In 1989, images of people demolishing the Berlin Wall symbolized the end of nearly 30 years of separation between West and East Berlin. The wall, which had previously divided families and ideologies, began to be destroyed as it was announced that it would be opened, allowing free movement between the two parts of the city. A crowd quickly gathered, using pickaxes, hammers, and other improvised tools to dismantle the barrier that had kept them apart for so long. Julia Child on the set of The French Chef, with 5 assistants hidden behind the counter, holding dishes and helping with recipe preparation without the viewers noticing. Premiering in 1963, the show was a landmark in American television, making French cuisine accessible to the public and revolutionizing the production of cooking shows. In 1899, French biologist Louis Bouton captured the first underwater photograph in history. At that time, divers used heavy and inflexible suits, with metal helmets and air tubes connected to the surface. In 1914, Emmeline Pankhurst, the iconic suffragette leader, was arrested in front of Buckingham Palace while attempting to deliver a petition to King George V. The petition demanded the recognition of women's voting rights, a cause to which Pankhurst dedicated much of her life. The rapid growth in Los Angeles during the 1950s is illustrated by the expansion of the suburbs and the increase in population. The photo, filled with moving trucks, captures the moment when many families were relocating to their new homes. At that time, the city experienced a significant surge in housing construction, driven by a strong economy and the rise of automobile ownership. Adolf Hitler is seen among a crowd celebrating the start of World War I. At that time, he was just one more face among many, excited by the rising nationalism and the prospect of transformation. This moment marks the beginning of his political journey, which would eventually lead him to power in Nazi Germany. During Prohibition in the United States, bootleggers used shoes designed to resemble cow hooves. The purpose of these shoes was to disguise footprints, preventing authorities from tracking the routes used for illegal alcohol transport. Prohibition led to the creation of an extensive network for the clandestine production and sale of alcohol, including hidden distilleries in rural areas and secret bars in cities. In the photo, John T. Scopes, a high school teacher, is being led to trial in Dayton, Tennessee in 1925 for teaching Darwin's theory of evolution. Known as the Monkey Trial, the case sparked a heated national debate about academic freedom, science, and religion. Scopes was accused of violating the Butler Act, which prohibited the teaching of any theory that contradicted the biblical account of human creation. After an 8-day trial, he was convicted and fined $100. Harvey Ross Ball with a serious expression beside his famous creation in the 1960s. The graphic artist and World War II veteran was hired by an insurance company in Worcester, Massachusetts, to create an image that would boost employee morale. In less than 10 minutes, Ball sketched the yellow smiley face that would become world-renowned as the smiley face. This image is likely the last photograph taken of Nicholas II of Russia after his abdication in 1917. With the fall of the monarchy, the Tsar was stripped of power and kept under constant surveillance. Shortly thereafter, he and his family were executed by the Bolsheviks in Ekaterinburg. A woman cooking on a wood stove during the Great Depression. This type of stove, simple and rustic, was essential for many families, both in rural areas and cities, who lacked electricity or gas, or could not afford more modern ways of preparing their meals. A futuristic baby stroller in West Germany during the 1950s. At that time, futuristic designs emerged as a reflection of post-war reconstruction, technological advancements, and the excitement of the space age. In the old Cincinnati Public Library, which opened in 1874, a man walks through the corridors filled with knowledge among about 300,000 volumes. However, due to the need for modernization and high maintenance costs, the building was demolished. Today, where the majestic library once stood, there is only an office building and a parking lot. On February 22, 1962, Robert Kennedy, then U.S. Attorney General, and Berlin's mayor, Willy Brandt, observed the Berlin Wall, a symbol of division and tension. Kennedy's visit demonstrated the United States' firm support for West Germany during a period marked by ideological and military confrontation. In 1935, Grant Wood used local models to create his iconic painting, American Gothic. While it may initially appear as a simple portrait of two rural inhabitants, the work became a symbol of the resilience and challenges faced by farming communities during the Great Depression, solidifying its place as an icon of American art. A young man headbutts a wall to test a football helmet. The photo, taken in 1912, is from the early days of developing protective equipment in American football when player safety was beginning to be taken into consideration. Simone Seguin, an 18-year-old French resistance fighter during World War II. Simone, who adopted the codename Nicole Minet, joined the fight against the oppressors when she was just 17. Her acts of bravery included participating in ambushes against German troops, helping liberate cities such as Chartres, and assisting in the transportation and protection of Allied prisoners. In 1957, engineer James A. Craig demonstrated the use of a fully automated mobile radio telephony system in Clifton, New Jersey. This pioneering system allowed for the first time to make calls from one vehicle to another without the need for assistance from local telephone companies. The photo depicts the beginning of the construction of the Berlin Wall in 1961. In August of that year, the East German government, with the support of the Soviet Union, started building the wall, initially with barbed wire and concrete blocks. The primary goal of the wall was to prevent East German citizens from fleeing to West Germany. Many people were escaping daily, which resulted in a loss of skilled labor and harmed the economy and stability of the Eastern regime. The historic meeting between Helen Keller and Charlie Chaplin in 1919 brought together two figures who profoundly impacted the world in different ways without relying on verbal language. Helen Keller, deaf and blind, overcame immense challenges to communicate and advocate for the rights of people with disabilities. Charlie Chaplin, a master of silent film, used physical expression and visual humor to tell stories that touched people's hearts. Taken in 1928, this photo marks the beginning of the Michelin Hour, a strategy by Michelin to capture public attention through radio. This program was not just a music broadcast, it was a disguised advertising stunt, featuring musicians dressed as the brand's mascot. The 1934 image shows the Hoover Dam under construction, located in the Colorado River Gorge between Nevada and Arizona. This monumental project was designed to control flooding, provide irrigation water, and generate electricity, driving the industrialization of the southwestern United States. Workers faced extreme temperatures, often exceeding 113 degrees Fahrenheit, and to alleviate the heat, cooling tunnels were constructed and giant fans were installed in the work areas. In August 1946, a photo captures Winston Churchill emerging from the sea during his vacation in the south of France. Having completed his term as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom after leading the country through World War II, the image of the ENIAC, the first computer in history, reveals the grandeur of this machine developed during World War II. Weighing 30 tons and occupying 1,800 square feet, the ENIAC was designed to perform complex calculations essential for military ballistics, replacing the time-consuming manual calculations. This is the first photo of space, taken on October 24, 1946. The image was captured by a camera mounted on a modified V-2 rocket launched by the United States. The V-2 rocket, originally developed by Nazi Germany, was adapted by American scientists for research after the war. During the flight, the camera took a photo every 1.5 seconds as the rocket ascended to about 65 miles in altitude, entering space. In the photo from the 1968 Mexico City Olympics, gold medalist Tommy Smith and bronze medalist John Carlos raised their clenched fists, making the Black Power salute during the 200-meter dash medal ceremony. The gesture symbolized the fight against racial oppression and the need for change in the United States, where the civil rights movement still faced significant resistance. The 78-year-old marathon runner Bill Ifrig is seen lying on the ground immediately after the bombing at the 2013 Boston Marathon. Bill was knocked down by the force of the explosion when he was just a few meters from the finish line. The image of Ifrig on the ground with chaos surrounding him circulated around the world and became a symbol of the tragedy that shook the city of Boston. The attack resulted in 3 deaths and over 260 injuries, marking one of the darkest days in the marathon's history. John F. Kennedy Jr. gives a solemn salute toward his father's coffin. President John F. Kennedy, during the state funeral in Washington in 1963. The funeral took place on the day Kennedy Jr. turned 3 years old. The salute, given as the funeral procession departed from St. Matthew's Cathedral, is remembered as one of the most emotional and symbolic moments of the funeral. In the photo taken in 1980 in the Karamoja district of Uganda, a missionary holds the hand of a starving boy. Karamoja, an arid region frequently hit by severe droughts, was experiencing one of the worst humanitarian crises in its history, which led to the death of approximately 21% of the children. Government agents pour illegal alcohol into the sewers of New York City during Prohibition, which lasted from 1920 to 1933. During this period, the production, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages were banned nationwide in an attempt to reduce alcohol consumption and its negative effects. However, instead of decreasing, alcohol consumption led to the rise of a black market, with criminal gangs like Al Capone's in Chicago profiting from bootlegging. In the 1921 photo, a Chicago policewoman checks if a woman is complying with the swimsuit length laws of the time. Back then, women's swimwear could not be more than 6 inches above the knee, and shoulders and thighs had to be covered. Swimsuits also could not be too tight or excessively outline the body. While women faced these restrictions, men were allowed to wear short trunks without the same scrutiny. A sinister mask worn by Edward Paisnell during his attacks on the Isle of Jersey in the 1960s. Paisnell, known as the Beast of Jersey, terrorized the local community with a series of brutal crimes, including at least 13 confirmed cases of rape and sodomy. He not only committed heinous acts, but also carried out the crimes theatrically, often wearing the mask. Harvey Glattman took this photo of 19-year-old Judy Dull before dragging her to the Mojave Desert and strangling her. Glattman, one of the most notorious serial killers of the 1950s, lured young women with promises of modeling jobs. The photo sessions he offered quickly turned into nightmares. Glattman used these photos to fuel his twisted fantasies, maintaining a macabre record of his atrocities. He was captured and sentenced to death in the gas chamber for the murder of 3 women. In the 1952 photo, we see the first selection of the Miss Slenderlegs contest in Miami, where the participants are wearing hoods over their heads. The contest highlighted only the legs of the competitors, so they wore the hoods to ensure that the focus was exclusively on their legs, without their faces influencing the judgment. Marines point their bayonets at the head of Colonel Anthony Biddle in 1943. The Marine Corps officer was renowned for his exceptional hand-to-hand combat skills and rigorous training methods. He often challenged his men to attack him with bayonets to demonstrate self-defense and disarmament techniques.